Good morning, it's DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Well, RSL opened the season with a loss in Miami. First time RSL has dropped the season opener since they lost in Seattle in 2009. Identical score, 2-0. They got shut out in Miami. They had chances in the second half. They created a lot of them. Miami was really sloppy, really loose with the ball. They had a lot of giveaways in bad places, and RSL just couldn't finish. Just could not. The final quality wasn't there. So they lose. And, they really hurt themselves. The first goal was a soft goal. Zach McMath, I'm sure he's looked at it on video by now and is thinking, I should have saved that. And that's because he should have saved that. Made a couple of big saves in the second half. So I don't know, maybe they offset each other. But it seems like mentally it would have been a big deal to get to the locker room playing that poorly and have a scoreless game. Because they did come out and they were much better at the start of the second half. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know if all the big names on Miami's roster, and it's not just Messi, although that's enough. But they've got 3 or 4 other guys who've got, incredible resumes, World Cup victories, European championships, Champions League titles, and they're just loaded with guys. And RSL did some good stuff. Jordi Alba, who's one of those guys, had some giveaways in a bad spot. And RSL, they had their chances. The first 20, 25 minutes of the second half, they were still only down 1 goal. They could have tied it up. It could have really changed the way the game went, but they didn't do it. So they get beat, and now they go to St. Louis, which – there isn't the glamour of Messi. Will Smith won't be at the game, and he was there last night. But it's still going to be a difficult game. St. Louis finished first in the West last year, and they're in the Champions Cup here. Beat Houston the other night, so they're playing competitive games already. And, RSL's going to have its work cut out for them. I don't know who'll start on the quick turnaround. I expect there'll be some changes to the lineup, but they're also a little limited. I mean, they still got 2 starters. We presume they're starters. They haven't joined the team yet because of visa issues. And you just wait on the government to get the paperwork done, and there's nothing you do, and it gets done when it gets done. So we'll see what RSL does Saturday at St. Louis. We will see what the Jazz do tonight at home. They are hosting the Charlotte Hornets, and the Hornets are a bad team. And not only have they only won 13 games this year, they've traded away a couple of their better players. They're clearly in full-on rebuild mode, and, they weren't that good. There wasn't that much to tear down, but they did. So this is you just got to circle this as a win for the Jazz. Man, you've had a week off. You've had a chance to come back and practice, and you need to come out and win. And could the Jazz be a little rusty? Sure, but Charlotte will be too. And Charlotte's on the road at elevation, and they are a bad team. So this needs to be a win for the Utah Jazz tonight. Lauri Markkanen meeting with the media. We'll let you listen to their discussion. Here's Lauri right now.
I mean, it's always a privilege to be a part of All-Star Weekend, so it's an opportunity presents itself, yes. But I feel like I got kind of going at the end, and that was really fun to spend time with those guys and go out there and compete and have fun. So, of course, if the opportunity comes. So.
Yeah, how different was it this time around with you not being like the quote-unquote host of the event?
It was different, a little travel going in there. A little more traffic with staying at the hotel instead of your own house. But, I mean, it's cool to see the different environments. Like, we were at the football stadium for that. And personally, I never shot threes in the football stadium before, so that was pretty cool. But to see kind of different environments. So.
Okay, I do want the on-record version of why did you change the Moneyball location this year, and do you regret your decision now?
No, I made my decision based on last year, how I felt at the end. So I wanted to put the balls in my favorite spot and be fresh, shooting with fresh legs, and kind of get the rhythm of the first rack. And practice rounds went really well with those, so I don't regret it at all.
Practice rounds, you were making the left wing ones more than one.
Yeah, you go back to last year's one, and I missed the last corner threes. So I'm surprised you didn't say anything then. They should have been on left wing.
As you guys look at the second half of the season, or I guess the third of the season, what do you guys kind of focus on? Kind of what was Will's message to you guys when he got you guys back together today?
that we need to go back to work. That's what it is. We have a lot of things that we can get better at, and there's, like we talked about after the trade deadline, there's going to be a lot of different lineups that we're going to use, but the message and the goal doesn't change. We go out there and try to improve our defense and do whatever it takes to get there, and obviously get on the same page offensively as well. Keep working on our spacing and decision making and everything that comes with it. So just keep working. That's what it really is.
So what are the goals this season?
What?
Like, what are the goals for the team this season?
I mean, we didn't talk about like where we need to end up, but we want to win games, and I think that's what everybody's goal is, and that's what we're here to do. It's frustrating to lose those couple of games before the break and not being competitors like we all are on the team. It sucks, so we were eager to get back to work, and hopefully we can turn things around.
How important is the All-Star break, I guess, just to recharge?
It's good. Sometimes you feel it could be even a little longer. The pounding your body takes, whatever, 55 games we played, 60 games. But I think the break is good for mentally kind of get away and spend time with your families, and then I think that's a good recharge button for, like, we had a really competitive practice today. Just everybody was excited to get back and get back to work.
You know, this has been the discussion point, but like, is there anything the league can do to make players, all-stars, try harder during the all-star game itself?
I don't make the decisions, but
but if you did,
I would love it to be like, obviously I've only done it once, but I would have loved to be really competitive, having best guys out there and really go at it. And I think you kind of get the other flip side of it too. The main goal is to win some basketball games with your teams, and you don't want to get hurt. Obviously, it's easy to say now that it should be more competitive, but what if somebody gets hurt and then it's like, why he's trying on an All-Star game, you know? So it's got both sides on it. Like, you really want to go out there and have fun, and like I said, it's a recharge button as itself from the main goal out there. So, but it would be really cool to see the competitive nature of the guys to really go out there and play. So maybe they figure something out to make it like that, but yeah.
There is Lauri Markkanen. The Jazz in action tonight at home against Charlotte. And then they get a couple days off, so they get more practice in. And they play again on Sunday against San Antonio, which is another winnable game. All right, DJ and PK, more basketball coming up with Tim LaComb from the Jazz pre, half, and post-game radio show, former BYU assistant coach. Tim is next right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, we're joined now by Tim LaComb. Are you a business owner? You have better things to do than job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire? Let Spherian Staffing and Recruiting do it. Visit Spherian online at Spherian.com/Utah. Tim LaComb, good morning.
Good morning.
You would know this, I do believe. The Aggie basketball coaching staff right now having the best day possible, short of winning a national title, because they just won a big game and they have a bye on the weekend. They can actually give the players a day off, and I'm sure they've got to watch some film on some recruit, and there's recruiting work to do. And they probably now have to meet with some booster about NIL. But isn't there like an hour to sit around the office and just bask in the glory of a big win?
Well, that's probably last night. You know, it's, as Danny Sprinkle says all the time, rent's due now. You got to get up and get something done. But what an environment really up there in Logan last night. Perennial Mountain West Conference power in San Diego State. And I mean, I didn't see every bit of every game, but I thought they went really toe-to-toe, and they answered the bell physically, which is what you got to do against San Diego State. You really have to be on the glass. And I just thought they were tough, man. They found a way. And so, I mean, I would give them an hour, but I would imagine that Danny's already got him on to the next task.
Yeah, no sense of recruiting. You don't know who's going to be in the transfer portal yet.
That's right, man. You might as well. It'd be like that old game where you put your, when you're at the fishing, somebody puts the pole or your line over underneath the shower curtain and they attach something to it mysteriously. What were those called? Fishing ponds when we were kids. You never know what you're going to get.
Right.
So, you got to wait till the portal's full.
What do you think their seed would be? I'm having a hard time figuring out because we were talking about it, those great Majerus teams. I thought they were underseeded. Even the year they got to 2 seed, it was the 4th 2 seed, and I thought they were better than that. So it seemed like there was always a level of, even if it was just marginal, a level of disrespect. I know BYU, when Steve Cleveland was there a couple times, I thought they were woefully underseeded. I thought they were way better than what they should have been, and they end up going against Syracuse and UConn, 2 powers, play them. Certainly Syracuse was real tough, and the UConn game I think was tough too. But as far as that goes, I think there's still a little bias against the Mountain West, so I'm trying to figure out where they would be seated. What would be your thought?
I think that the Mountain West is kind of through that phase. Really great teams this year, and
with the Aztecs going all the way last year to the final. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's we're talking about a different animal. I think in the Mountain West, but to your point, I mean sometimes Utah State was not necessarily scheduled for the dance, so they're like, oh wait a second, you got to hold 15 for your reservation. And we went through that a couple of times. Back-to-back games against Texas A&M when we were really good. Going in there with 8s. It's why those seeds are so important. When we were able to make it the Sweet 16 that year, we went as a 3 and played Wofford in the first round, who was tough, but Mike Young was a coach who's now the coach at Virginia Tech, who pantsed Virginia last night, beat them pretty bad. So it's all, the tournament's all about seeding, but I do believe what Utah State has going for it is the Mountain West Conference obviously has done really well in the tournament as of late, and I think they're a great conference top to bottom, really, really good hoop.
You worried about either of these teams having to follow up a big win with another big win? I mean, the Aggies get a week off, so maybe that helps a little bit. Obviously, for the Cougars, a big test on the weekend on the road.
Yeah, it's it's day by day, but I think you're talking about BYU. I mean, heck, what an environment there. The Marriott Center is no longer this West Coast secret. So cool to see BYU basketball, the environment, everything that has been kind of swelling over the last number of years, all kind of come to fruition. And just sitting back last night in my living room, flipping between games, it was just quite a sight to see. But yeah, I think I think BYU stamped their ticket last night, so it's a matter now of just continuing to try and improve your seed. And, the loss at Oklahoma State was tough, but they answered it by winning a game last night that was really big against a team that a lot of people think a lot of good things about.
Khalifa, man, I love the kid. Doughy guy, out of shape, leads 7 assists, dropping in 4 threes. Just amazing. What a find.
I totally agree. I mean, talk about finding a guy that's exactly what you need. They have such a nice variation in their bigs, particularly between he and Foose. But, man, he's really changed the game. And some of those passes he made last night, the ones that, like a cutter's going completely opposite direction that he'd normally, be in his sight or in his vision, and he just finds people. But it was his shot making last night, making shots at the end of the clock and just understanding where the ball needs to go. He was a great find. I completely agree. Egyptian, coming from Charlotte to BYU. It's a great job by the staff finding him.
Better pass, that one you're talking about, or when they're in the zone and before the ball hits his hands, he knows where the open shooter is on the three-point line. And, I mean, he caught that thing. He had to jump to catch it, but the ball was gone before his feet hit the floor.
Well, they call that a one-timer in hockey, right?
Yeah.
I think what I saw Jokic do that last week. Ball's in the air, and he surveys the scene and goes up and just taps it where it needs to go. He's got a lot of Jokic in him. Not from a scoring perspective, but, man, his ability, first of all, to catch the ball in the spot he wants to catch it, not be in a hurry. And, the book on him now, you saw it last night with Baylor, they're crawling up into his real estate, trying to thwart the opportunity for him to make passes. But it seems like whatever people try, he just does. He's got that gift, man. He's got that gift.
How do you channel this and what was showed? I know you're not going to bring 17,000 folks with you, but you got a couple of road games in the state of Kansas coming up, and it'd be nice if you could at least get a split. But I'm nervous about it because I saw what happened last Saturday at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, winning on the road is in college basketball. You got to really be of one mind, and particularly going into places like that. I will say the fall from grace, Jerome Tang and Kansas State, they are now 1-6 after they're 4-1 in the Big 12, and they went to Iowa State, and he mysteriously called out Iowa State for planting people around his bench to, coaches are so paranoid, I guess is my point. But he goes to, he goes to great lengths in the media to make this comment, and his 4-1 team now has gone 1-6. So you might want to keep your eye on the ball, particularly in the Big 12, really important. But major distraction, Jerome Tang, a young head coach who had a lot of success last year, they've dropped it. They dropped the ball now. And so I think BYU's got a real chance to win there. I think that Kansas State team is just kind of on fumes right now. And then Kansas, heck, you're going to be so jacked up for that. And it's not, let's be real clear, this is not your mom and dad's Kansas. This is kind of they've rented costumes and they put on the Kansas uniform. But that team is not typically what we see in a Kansas basketball team. So again, BYU's on house money. They're playing great basketball. Most importantly, that's the thing. They're not trying to. There's no production going on. There's no faux. Like March comes so far, he's not making up, best locker room in America anymore. They're just doing it on the court, and him having to hype things up and all that stuff is gone. And this team is, they're legit night to night, and they'll just go in there physically. That's what's cool. This BYU team physically can kind of handle those contests.
Still a little three dependent, though. 39%, 14 made threes, so they get the win. But it seem like they can only make a couple at Oklahoma State, so they take the loss.
Yeah, but who isn't three dependent anymore? Basketball is three dependent. I think what BYU has shown in games this year, where, I'm trying to remember it was Iowa State. Iowa State really tried to crowd them and take away the three, and they ended up just going to the basket all night. Again, having Khalifa as a guy who you can penetrate the ball with, but then is such a, vicious passer. They've got kind of the three and the key going, but they've got to take it out on the road, right? I think that sometimes the threes aren't going to fall like they do at home on the road. So they just got to remember to continue to attack. But I've been really impressed, and minus that blip, at Oklahoma State, who's full of really good athletes, by the way, and really good players. They do have the ability night to night to beat teams. I think BYU's in a good spot.
Jazz gotten past the malaise of the trade now, and we expect some winning going forward?
I hope so. I would say that game we watched against Golden State going into the All-Star break is more of what hopefully we see. It was an amazing environment, and I think the Jazz fans will still continue to come out and support this team. Keontae, obviously 9 threes. This last little bit is about a couple of things. It's evaluating, continuing to evaluate, but giving these young guys reps, man. And Keontae, took those reps, did great things with them. It's exciting, over the next 20 plus to see truly what Taylor Hendricks, can kind of what level he can get to through year one. But I thought he had some good spurts the other night. And, Will has proven, regardless of what part or what team or blend of team this Jazz team he's had over the last couple of years, he's gotten the best out of the group. You think about the group that nobody thought anything of last year, and he takes them 10-3 right out of the gate. Literally moves have to be made because they're doing too well. This year, obviously, the moves to try to get some assets, but he'll figure it out. He continues to figure out the roster, personnel, who plays best with whom, and over time, they've really found that. And then, he's got the team kind of humming at a certain point through each iteration of this team. So I would expect the same, but probably the most important thing is to see these young guys go out there and get their opportunities.
You love the odds. What are the odds that with Charlotte at home, San Antonio at home, and at Atlanta, no back-to-backs, 3 games before we talk to you again, and only the third one in Atlanta is on the road. What are the odds the Jazz go 3-0? Because these are 3 basketball teams that are all well below 500, right?
Yes, but it is the NBA. And every night, the odds don't necessarily mean much always. I'm going to go, let me think about this one. I am going to go 65% they go 3-0.
All right, there it is.
Well, I see no reason why it doesn't happen because I took a level of optimism from that Golden State game because it seemed like, I realize it was a psychological blow, but it was also a literal blow in terms of losing talent. And once that happens, and then you have to regroup a little bit, and Will Hardy spoke about that, about needing practice time and whatnot. Well, they should have had it now. And so I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but at that same time now, I'm expecting a much better performance going forward. I don't think there's any other way around it. And now you've settled into what, and he made a change to the starting lineup too, along with it. So I'm expecting at least more consistency. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, like you said, it does take a little bit of time to get the right groups out there together. And then I'll obviously scheme. Basketball is such a team game, and 4 guys can be on the right spot and 1 guy can be out to lunch, and it can cost you possession after possession. So yeah, it's a process. I do think too the All-Star break, the actual break, and getting away and coming back will be beneficial for this group. They've been through a lot, played a lot of games, and now they can kind of focus on the stretch run.
Tim, we will talk to you again in a week, but we will hear you on Jazz broadcast this week now as they get back to action. Pre-game, halftime, post-game right here on The Zone. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, guys. Great being with you.
There is Tim LaComb. DJ and PK is proudly presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 18 years in a row. Nick Robinson, BYU assistant coach. Coming up next, he was on late in yesterday's show after the win. So there'll be a few last night references, but I know you want to hear from him on how the Big 12 season is going and the big win. Nick Robinson coming up next. Nick Robinson joins us now. Nick, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
We just had Brent Musburger screaming and yelling after you hit the shot to beat Arizona. We did that just to put PK in a good mood for you.
That's fantastic.
The rush you get playing, the rush you get coaching, I think we can imagine, even if we can't know, we can imagine the rush when that shot goes in and beats Arizona. What's the rush you get as a coach, though, when you see your guys playing well again? Because that's 3 out of 4 now. That's 5 out of 7. And obviously that was a nationally ranked Baylor team. What's the adrenaline rush like now?
It's an incredible rush for us to be able to respond after the performance that we had on Saturday was very satisfying for our entire team. Not just the entire Marriott Center and Rock Nation and Cougar Nation, right? We were extremely pleased with the effort, the energy, the focus, and we're super excited and very satisfied after that victory.
Khalifa, wow, what a game, what a player. I had the opportunity to interview him after you first got him, and his story, aside from basketball, is just incredible. So you're going to root for a kid like that. I'm wondering, he puts his name in the transfer portal last year. What do you guys know about him at the time, and how do you go about researching and doing your homework to say that's a player that we'd be interested in?
Well, we knew about Ali because we actually had pretty good relationships with the staff over at Charlotte that were long-term relationships. And so to be able to follow that team as they went on to win the CBI last year was essentially a huge turnaround for the entire program. And so we had a semblance of an idea that he had been extremely well coached, that his defensive fundamentals were very solid, but he had a high IQ. And then we started to look at the stats and the film and realized, wow, he can really pass this basketball. He can really shoot the basketball. He might be a really good fit at BYU once he's in the transfer portal. So it was, a great opportunity for us to be able to get him on the phone, for us to be able to find out a little bit more about his story, and then to go through the pretty quick transfer portal recruiting process with him. And we're grateful that he decided to come to BYU.
Passing's an interesting skill in basketball, and I get the physical stuff of being able to pass off the dribble, kind of do two things at once, and also willing passers. Some people just don't want to pass, so they'll never be a good passer. But there's something extra to see some of the passes he sees and to see them as soon as he sees them. Can you coach that up, or is that just something somebody has or doesn't have?
He brought a lot of that to us, meaning he was raised in basketball, with an older sister who's coached him extremely well and, allowed him to, kind of grow under her tutelage. And then he spent multiple years in Australia where we know that they, teach very fundamental, skilled basketball. And then again, right at Charlotte, he, was well coached. And so he brought a lot of his vision, his skill in passing, his ability to be able to read plays. And so we've been fortunate, Coach Feger and Coach Pope, have done a great job of orchestrating, some of our offensive schemes to fit his skills.
You mentioned that recruiting. You talk about recruiting with the high school kids. You establish the relationship early, maybe ninth grade or so, and then it's built up over years, and then the kid commits and so forth and so on. In the transfer portal, how condensed is it? Because it seems like high school kids' years, transfer portal days. Is that accurate?
It's absolutely accurate. I mean, for us, we generally try to do everything that we can to get in contact with the player or those that are closest to him, once they're in the transfer portal within the first, couple of hours. And then, the dating/courting period takes about 24 to 48 hours to see if there's actual mutual interest. And then from there, it's really about a 2.5 to 3 weeks, sometimes a month process, if you're lucky to get to that stage where an individual has now, evaluated the schools, evaluated, what they're looking for, and evaluated the opportunity that might be available to them at the, top 2 or 3 schools. And then the decision process is made. The difference between high school versus kind of the transfer portal is all the individuals in the transfer portal went through the high school recruiting process. And so they understand kind of what college recruiting is like. They understand what college is now. And so they have an understanding of what it means to be in essentially what is most important to them. So once they're able to find out what's most important to them, it makes the recruiting matching process a little bit easier.
Obviously, you tried to educate yourself on the Big 12 and prepare as a coaching staff for this move, but you can't know everything. You anticipated a lot of this, but what's the biggest surprise been?
I think the biggest surprise is what we were told, but you can't really know until you experience it, that the Big 12 is a gauntlet, that every single night is a physical battle. It's very, very high-level coaching. It's very high-level individual players. It's very high-level teams. And so we understood that, but we had not experienced it. Now we're 13 games in and have a better sense of what that is and what it means to be in the middle of the gauntlet. And we're super excited about the next game.
You've had decent success on the road, and you won a couple ball games in conference, and you had some other ones that obviously you could have won. And then at home, lost a couple ball games, but you've had some great wins. So the ability is there to find success no matter where you play. What do you need to do to channel the good stuff on the road when you go? The good stuff at home when you go on the road these next couple ball games?
Yeah, when we're playing at home, clearly Cougar Nation, the Rock, the Marriott Center, provides an incredible amount of excitement. It provides an incredible amount of support. And so we're so grateful for the opportunity that we have to, be in the Marriott Center. And so, with 2 more games at home, we're excited about, what that brings. But with 3 more games on the road, we really have got to channel the togetherness, the toughness, the grit, the fight that we brought as a team, like we did in last night's game. And so, our ability to be able to focus in those areas and to really trust the guys, right, to really trust one another in their defensive assignments and rotations and their offensive execution. Really honing in on that process is really the key for us as we move forward in any game.
How much are you opening eyes and recruiting since everything happens at the same time with the way you've played this year?
Sorry, say that one more time.
With the way that you're debuting in the Big 12, how is that changing the recruiting process for you?
Great. Thanks for repeating that. I think that really continues to open up doors, right? BYU has an incredible history, right? There's been so many teams and players that have built the program to this point. But to be in the number 1 conference in the country, to be in the top 25 for as many weeks as we've been in, to get a huge home win headed down the stretch, with the sights of postseason right there, the opportunity that this provides and the exposure that it provides will really help us, as we continue to recruit and, prepare for, recruiting and future teams in the Big 12.
Your playing rotations have been interesting to me because, Foose was down, and then it took him a while to get back. And then a couple games you went on the road, and he was huge. And then he's not getting as many minutes. Trey Stewart wasn't getting any minutes. Now he's getting some. And my question then, the point I'm making, is how much is Coach Pope and you guys going by feel as opposed to set rotations in terms of minutes played per game?
Yeah, one of the things that we've been really fortunate over the course of the season when we've had guys out of the lineup is we've had multiple guys step up. And, as we've gone through the Big 12 schedule and seen every team essentially outside of Kansas and TCU for the first time, we're able to continue to evaluate the rotations from an analytical perspective, from a feel perspective, from an in-game perspective. And so, every individual understands that they've got to be ready to come in and perform at a high level because every game is a high-level game. And so I think it's a combination of all of those areas as we continue to try to work through the rotations game by game so that we can be successful.
Obviously, you have to hit threes in this era of basketball. It's really three dependent. But some of your guys, their movement off the ball and their ability to cut and get you easy buckets, and Noah Waterman had a great cut and got a dunk, and he actually got a couple of them. How do you keep your guys invested in that part of the game? Because it's natural for players to think, hey, the three's going or it's not going, and be out there. And you can't exclusively live and die by that. So how do you get those other moments in the game where a guy on the weak side sees somebody turn their head and goes to the hoop and gets you an easy two?
Well, because we're such a threat from three, and it allows us offensively to be able to take advantage of some cutting opportunities. In addition, right, Foose and clearly Ali have become much better in terms of reading the opportunities to pass the ball to amazing cutters. Richie, Noah, you mentioned, Trevin, Jackson, each of those guys clearly do a great job from three, which means that teams are going to guard them in such a way that we can have opportunities at the rim. And so it's the combination of being great cutters, but also having great passers to be able to provide us those opportunities.
I saw a quote from Ari Emma, who coaches the women's basketball at UConn, obviously has been extremely successful, and he was saying that everybody has a role on the team. Some, in his case, women obviously, would be to score 20 points a game, but not everybody has that role. But everybody has the role, particularly to bring energy to what you're trying to accomplish every day. And your role can be different, scorer, defender, whatever it might be, screener. And you look at Saunders, and when I saw that quote, first guy I thought of was Saunders, because somehow he manages to bring energy to everything that he does, at least from our perspective when I turn on the television to watch. Can you speak to how important that is?
Yeah. Richie's energy is incredible. He brings that type of energy every single day. And we've got, additional guys that bring, their maximum energy every single day in practice. And so, it's one of those areas where, Richie's ability to be able to bring some energy, right, in a lot of different spaces. But last night, specifically, we saw incredible energy from Spencer Johnson on the offensive glass. I think he had 5 offensive rebounds. For Dallin Hall to have, I think, 4 offensive rebounds last night was incredible energy, that allowed us to be able to shoot, essentially 15 more times, than BYU or than Baylor did last night. In addition, each of our guys understands the standard of energy that we need to bring defensively. Coach Fennell has done a great job of, making sure that guys, game in and game out, with a few bumps on the road, have brought consistent, focused energy on the defensive end. And so, it's one of the things that, we hope that each of our guys can bring the maximum level of energy that they are capable of doing and lean into their strengths on the floor. And we're able to see Richie, lean into one of his absolute strengths, which is, playing hard, physical, tough every minute that he's on the floor.
BYU assistant basketball coach Nick Robinson joining us here on The Zone. Your next game is at Kansas State. They got off to a great start, but they've lost 7 of their last 8. The one win was over Kansas, so it's a quality win. But nonetheless, they've lost 7 of 8. When you look at the tape, they're vulnerable somewhere. They're getting beat somewhere. What do you guys need to attack? Where have their issues been?
Yeah, Kansas State, is a very good basketball team, right? They're well coached. They're physical. They're tough. They've played better at home, over the course of the season. For us, we really feel like we've got to attack in the areas that BYU has been successful in, meaning we want to do what we can to be in transition. We want to shoot, as many great threes as we can. We want to be very, physical and on our toes as we move through screening and cutting, which we've talked about on the to this point. But in addition, defensively, we've got to be really, really good in our transition defense. That's where they, have found a lot of success. And in the half court, we've got to make sure that we limit, their top guys to what they don't want to do. We want to force them into some of their weaknesses. So it's going to be a really tall task and a great challenge for us off of a really good win versus Baylor. But I'm excited for our guys, and we're excited as a team and as a staff for the opportunity.
If I had to identify one reason for your team's big-time success this season, there's been no question about that, I think I would boil it down to simply continuity, because the transfer portal hasn't been that big of a factor this year, and everybody outside of Khalifa basically has been with the team and knows what to expect. Would you agree with that continuity is that important? Because I put it pretty high on the list.
I definitely believe that the guys that have been in the program, for now a year and 3 quarters, have benefited from the continuity. But it's not just so much the continuity, right? It's really been the connectedness of our guys. We were fortunate to be able to go on a foreign tour, with those that joined the team brand new, and that really connected our guys. And so when we entered fall camp and then we went through the non-conference season, they were able to lean on each other more and more and more, and really, provide incredible internal leadership. And so for us to be able to see that consistently has gotten us through, many of the tough stretches that we've had in Big 12 play. But we've also been able to see that connectedness, of this particular team has really been able to show itself in our responses, just like we had last night versus Baylor.
Among the Stanford people, because you're a proud Stanford alum, as you should be, you guys all think that Mad Dog guy, Mark Madsen, is a traitor now for coaching at Cal?
Absolutely not. Coach Madsen has had an incredible, coaching career path to this point. And so, he's doing everything he can to take advantage of the opportunities that are provided to him. And that was an incredible opportunity for him to go from Utah Valley into the Pac-12, and now the ACC, I guess, in 3 months' time.
Yeah, but Cal, come on, how could you do that?
It still feels, very weird, to see him, in some yellow and blue. But as a Stanford alum, I'm excited for the guys that continue to have success. In whatever profession that they're in. I mean, we've got guys that are in commercial real estate and, in Amazon and, running startups and all sorts of things. And so they've changed their jersey as well. And so I'm not mad at any of them for, pursuing incredible, dreams at this particular stage.
But I want you to know I'm an Arizona State grad, and you'll forever be my favorite Stanford player because of that shot.
Well, I'm glad that even 20 years later we're able to bring smiles to people's faces, with that incredible moment.
Absolutely would have been a better answer, though. When you said absolutely, I got to admit my heart fell a little bit when you said not. That would have been funny if you'd just gone at Mark, just for the fun of it. He would have loved it, too. Drop the hammer on him. But teammates, hey, you gotta stick up for each other when you got the Stanford connection. And Mike Montgomery made it okay. Mike made it okay because he did it too. So everybody else can follow him.
So one of the things about Coach Madsen, about Mad Dog, is he was actually my host on my recruiting visit, right? So I've got nothing but love for that man.
There you go. Well, Nick, we appreciate a few minutes after the big win. Congratulations. Good luck at Kansas State. And, keep an eye on the scores. And if you see Arizona lose, PK's happy.
Guys, hey, thanks for having me on. Go Cougs, and I really appreciate the time.
All right, thank you, Nick. Nick Robinson, assistant basketball coach at BYU, coming off the win over 11th-ranked Baylor at home. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next. Stay with us.